Able to contrast between why we are a great country and why the left wants us to talk about grievance. The fact is that the left is trying to sell a drug of victimhood and the narcotic of despair. The truth is that we have so much to celebrate, and yet today, in many parts of the country, you feel like you're in quicksand.
Yes, sir, Senator Tim Scott. That is the truth. So Senator Tim Scott, he's running potentially for the presidency or the Republican nomination in 2024. So he's been going around the country in Iowa and other places on his tour, his Faith in America tour or something like that. And so he's correct, because all the left and the progressives have to sell is black grievance, black victimization. On this channel all the time, I talk about we're not victims, that we are empowered for greatness. And that is what they're selling, because it's easier to sell grievance. It's easier to convince somebody that was somebody else's fault for your lack of achievement, instead of saying, no, you did not make the right decisions in order to achieve in life. See, it's easy to place the blame on somebody else instead of taking responsibility.
To be able to contrast between why we are a great country and why the left wants us to talk about grievance. The fact is that the left is trying to sell a drug of victimhood and the narcotic of despair. The truth is that we have so much to celebrate, and yet today, in many parts of the country, you feel like you're in quicksand.
That drug is addictive. Victimization and grievance, black grievance. Oh, it's a thriving industry. It's very addictive. And they've convinced a number of black people that that's the reason for their inability to achieve in America. But you have people coming over from all other countries coming here, establishing businesses and thriving. But yet the native born black folks can't, because they've been convinced, they've been sold this drug. The most important and lethal drug that's been sold for the past 50 and 60 years has not been crack, has not been weed, has not been heroin, has not been fentanyl. It's been the crack of victimization, the crack of black grievance. That's been the most addictive drug that's been sold to the black community, and that has what destroyed the black community more than anybody else. And so when you have people like Senator Tim Scott saying these things, obviously you're gonna have pushback. For example, look at this. This guy. I'm 6'3" and black. Tim Scott, Clarence Thomas, and Candace Owens are Uncle Tom Negroes. And real black people will never support their betrayal. First of all, you need to get educated, brother, into who Uncle Tom really was before you start calling people Uncle Toms. And second of all, this is the crack. This is a drug that has been sold into the black community, that when somebody speaks differently, that does not line up with the mentality that has been given to black people from the media, from the government, and from progressives, from the progressive elite, they're called names. Coons, Uncle Toms, Sambo, Step and Fetch It, all kind of stuff. You'll be surprised at the number of comments that have been directed my way, simply because I tell people that you have agency, that you can rise up, because you have, especially as a Christian. If you're a Christian, you have no excuse. You have no excuse. None whatsoever, because you have God on the inside of you. You have no excuse to blame nobody else. Nobody else. But it's this mentality that is pervasive in the black community that keeps black people down. And so it looks like Senator Tim Scott understands that, because he knows that people are going to call him a prop, they're going to call him a token, they're going to call him an N-word, they're going to question his blackness, they're going to call him Uncle Tim and all kind of other stuff. But see, when you know you're standing for biblical truth, when you know you're standing up for things that are true, it does not matter what people have to say, because you know you stand on truth, you stand on facts, and they're standing on rhetoric, and they're standing on the crack of victimization. That's what they're standing on, and that's what progressives and liberals have been selling to black people for ages, for decades. The crack of victimization, the crack of grievance. And they've amped it up to where now they're pushing this thing into our schools. That's why we have to fight for things like school choice. That's why we have to make sure that we go into these schools and pull our children out. If they're in these failing schools that don't care about them and want to teach them that a boy can be a girl and girl can be a boy. All they're doing is preparing our children to be the next line of their agitators, the black activists, because they're teaching them that America has been so mean to them. America KKK. A lot of people say that dumb stuff. No, You make what you want in America. America is based upon merit. America is based upon the ideas that you have personal responsibility. That's the American dream, that you have the responsibility in and of yourself to achieve, all about the decisions that you make and the aptitude and the attitude and the aggressiveness that you use to pursue it. And especially as believers, we have the greater one inside of us. We have no excuse, none at all, to not achieve in this life. The Bible talks about we need to reign in this life as kings. If you're not reigning in this life as a king, it's because you've allowed the pollution of grievance and victimization to enter your mind, enter your psyche, and control your will. You must stop that. We can stop that. We're not victims. We are empowered for greatness.